yeah, as I said, I'd just show you some tips that I picked up with working with different characters. It can be quite painful, trying to figure them out and try to get it all sorted. But anyways, these are just some tips that I picked up along the way. So I have this character, and what I want to do is when you click on her, she's going to say something. Now, I have different characters, so I'll go to use text. Ideally, I'd like to use audio, but with using different characters and only having one voice, and it's only just a small little thing, so it doesn't warrant the investment into getting loads of different people to record. And when you select her, she's going to talk. But what I want to do is change her emotion and have her react and different things. So let's take a look. So I've picked out this character here. Probably one of the hardest things is trying to figure out not to have very kind of stock photo imagey stuff, but we're stuck with what we have. So the first thing I'm going to do is select her and go to edit the state, and some options here will come up. So let me just bring this up here. Just another thing, you can pop it out here if you want. And that just gives you a bit more space here, and I can bring it along here, so I'm not just looking down here all the time. So I'm going to create a new state. Just select there, and I am going to have selected. Okay, so when you basically select, it means when you select or click on her, and the image is the same. So this is when it's normal, and this is when it's the image is selected. But I want to change that. So what I'm going to do first of all, I am going to change the normal, and I'm going to have it slightly grayed out because I'll have different characters on the screen. So I want to make it, that you know who you selected, the whole thing about accessibility being obvious and that. So I'm going to go in here and going to go to format, and I'm going to change the contrast here, maybe until, no, color here, and I can do different variations. I like this kind of sepia tone there, and that'll automatically change here. So I have to go back to the selection, and that's why it's a good idea to pop this out, because you can make it bigger without making the slide itself much smaller. And I'm going to recolor her back to normal. So you can see here now when the page opens, it'll be like this, and then here she will have a bit of color. The next thing I want to do is I want to change it, so have her kind of react. And how I do that is I am going to go to click here and do design and have her pose. So I can select from the different things. So she's going to talk. So I want her positive perhaps and talking. Now, some of the ones here are pretty terrible. So let's go with here. All right. So here and here. All right. But one thing I noticed, I suppose let's pick a different one here because it's not too bad. But let's have our point. Yeah, that's a good one because I could put the text potentially into that. All right. So when I go from this, and then she goes over, which is not good when you think, because when you select on it, it doesn't look natural. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to go up here, first of all, to view, and I'm going to put guides and grid lines here. And what I do is I push, it's a bit of a weird one, I put the cross, I don't know if you can see it, let me zoom in here. Kind of the cross notes on the nose. So like the tip of the nose. So that kind of gives me a basis. So when I click in here, I know I have to bring that over here. All right. Now it's never going to, let me just zoom out. There we go. So now it looks a bit more natural when I do that. But unfortunately, she's got it the wrong way. I wanted the text the other side. So I am going to right click there, and I can go up here and rotate and just horizontal and flip. Normally you should be able to rotate. format, rotate, width. Okay, for some reason it has stopped. You used to be able to just flip her over for some reason. So what I'm going to do now is go done, and when I click on her, now if I did this without it being done, so I could just move her over there because I'm going to have different characters there. Yeah, so that's just kind of a quick tip about how you can just make the characters a bit better and work with them. So let me just add the text there. For instance, now I'll go to unshow that view and just zoom in a bit. Insert text. So we're going to have this text here. Copy. Search text box. And let me just make that a bit bigger. Use this to 24 or whatever, and then format as needed. Now what I want to probably here is done. Oh, there is text here. Paste in there. So what I might do here is make her slightly big. So I want to make sure I'm done. Otherwise it's just going to change that state. I might make her slightly bigger. And then when I hover over, let me see here. Make sure she's selected. Now I could go back in and zoom in. Now this is only an example. I would, of course, so let's see what happens here. Preview entire project. There we go. Now you can have it on hover as well, but there we go when we select her. So it feels a lot natural, more natural, rather than having her miles away. The movement seems a bit more natural. Oh, well, I had it on the right spot, but I don't know why that was doing that. But yeah, just some ideas there. The characters can be a bit frustrating to work with, but I find using the guides to put it on the nose, because the head size tends to be the same, is a lot easier. Rather than trying to figure out how to overlay it and using layers and doing all that. But just using very simple states there can make it a lot more time saving, a lot more time efficient. Okay, so that's done. So this is what it's going to look like. Let me just turn off the grids and that. So I've a series of characters. Now I had to do layers in this case for the text, because what was happening when I selected on someone, depending on where they were, the text was coming behind because it was looking at how they stood in the timeline. So for instance, if I clicked character 1 here, the text was coming behind because it doesn't move the text in front. So that's why I have layers. The only layers I have is just for the text. It's not actually for the characters. It just makes it easier as well. So now that I've that done, I just want to just give you one more thing that you need to do, especially if you're working with more than one of these. If I go in here now and preview this slide, what happens here is, okay, there we go, nice. They all select, you know, but it's a bit messy, depending, you know, if I select or unselect, so forth. So what I want to do is what's called a button set. So it makes it appear as if they're all buttons, but only one of them can be in that state of selected, and then it unselects all the rest of them. So again, avoids messing with layers. So if you think of in a menu, you can only highlight one thing. Same idea here. So I'm going to select all the characters here, and then right click and go button set or button set 1. and watch what happens here. This is the only thing I've done. And here I have, there we go, let me click here. So she just comes unselected. So it's only going to show the ones that I've clicked. So it allows me to focus on the particular person, and allows just to make sure that, you know, I'm reading what's appropriate there. And it just, if I double select, nothing's going to happen. They're always going to be, only one of them is ever going to be in selected mode. This works a lot better in menus. You know, if you want to show, what you call them, one item at a time. I use this a lot, the button set, but I just want to show it with characters as well. All right, hope that helps.